Hello everyone. In this video, you'll learn how to use Power Automate to send emails from an Excel file. And this is a very common use case for Power Automate because by using this kind of flow, you can send multiple and personalized emails for each of the records from an Excel table. And you can do that with a single click without the need of copying data from Excel and then entering that manually into your Outlook emails one by one. So basically, you can save a lot of time and effort by automating this kind of process. And in this video, you'll see how to do that. So before starting to build our flow, let's quickly check our assets for this video. And we have this Excel file. If you already saw our video about how to extract data from emails and load that into an Excel file, you must be familiar with that because we are using the same sample data here, which is basically a list of orders. And these orders, they contain data like order number and date when it was received, the delivery address, and the total amount. And the idea is to capture the data from these rows and load the individual data to this email template. So here we have fields corresponding to each one of the columns from the Excel file. And you also have this hashtag on the subject line where you also include the order number. So let's get started. Let's go to Power Automate, and I'm here in the Create a Flow page. I will start by creating an instant cloud flow because we will not start this flow from any event. We'll simply click into the Run button and the flow will start from that. So let's click here. Let's name this flow with something like Send Emails from Excel. And then I'll select the Manually Trigger Flow, hit Create. And now we are in the Flow Edit page. Let's add a new step here. And this step will be the list rows present in a table from the Excel connector. This action will basically return all of the records that we'll have in your Excel file. So we'll receive an array of objects containing one record for each of these rows. And for that, we'll just need to inform Power Automate where is this Excel table located. So we start by selecting the SharePoint site where it is located. In my case, this Digital Mail Community, the document library, which in my case is the documents. And then you can simply click into this folder to navigate until your file. In my case, it is right here, ongoing orders. And right after that, you can expand this dropdown to select the corresponding table. In my case, I have only one table, so I'll select that. And that's it. At this point, our flow is already reading all of the records from the Excel table and returning that into an array format. This array format is basically a list of items. In our case, those items, each one is corresponding to a record from the Excel table. And we need an action from Power Automate to access each of these records and apply a given action to each one of them. So let's include this action by clicking here in Add an Action, and then we search for Apply to Each. This Apply to Each is one of the available loops in Power Automate. The other one is the Do Until. But for our use case, since you want to apply the same step to all of the items existing in an array, we can move forward with this Apply to Each. So let's start populating it by clicking here in the Select and Output from Previous Steps. And then we click into this Lightning button, Just Select and Dynamic Content from the previous steps. We have only one available option because we have only one array into this flow so far. So I will select that. It is this body value property, which corresponds to all of the records extracted from the Excel file. So simply click over there. And now we can start to add any steps to inside our Apply to Each loop. Be careful here because we have two buttons to add actions. We have one inside the loop and one outside the loop. You need to be careful because any actions that we insert inside this loop will be applied to all of the records from the Excel file. In our case, we need only one action, which is the send an email. But eventually, depending on your context, you may need some different actions to treat data, eventually to record information somewhere else, or any other steps that make sense to your specific use case. So let's click here into Add an Action inside the Apply to Each loop. And let's search for Send Email. And here in the Office 365 Outlook connector, you can see a lot of options. For my use case, I will select the Send an Email from a share mailbox because I'm using a share mailbox for that. But if you want to work with your individual mailbox, you can simply select this Send an Email v2. So I'm selecting the shared one. And I'll first need to inform where is the mailbox from where I want to send an email from. And in this case, is the flows test. Then I need to select the recipient of this email. You can pass any dynamic content here if you want by just clicking here in the switch to advanced mode. But in my case, I just want to send it to invoice@digitalmail.net, and that's it. Alright, so for the subject line, let's come back to the flows test Outlook. and copy all of this information here and paste it here. We just need now to add a dynamic content to capture the current order number, insert here right after the hashtag. So I'll again click here into this lightning. And now you can see that we have one option for each of the columns from the Excel file. One of these columns is the order number. I can simply click over there and that's it. But we are not ready yet. We need also to do the same thing for the body. So I will come here to the flows test. I will copy the body and paste it here. If you want, you can also add some styling here. Maybe it's a good idea for this case. Let's add some bold text for those labels. And then we can also include the dynamic content for each of these properties. So I'll click here in the lightning. Make sure to position your mouse cursor over the correct part of the email body that you want to insert this dynamic content. So here we have the order number. Here we have the order date, which in this case the received at, the delivery address as well, and finally the total amount. So at this point we are fine. We also have here some additional parameters. If you want, you can include some CC to this email. You can add some attachments. You can change the sensitivity and so on. So we have a lot of options when it comes to customize how you send this email, and you can also add some conditions here if you wish. We will not cover this specific part of the process in this video, but it's important to know that those are some possibilities when you are working with Power Automate. So let's save the flow now and open the flow main page into another tab. So I'm clicking here into the back and open into a new tab. And let's now test it. So I'm here in the flow main page. I will hit the run button. Since this is the first time that I'm running this flow, it will ask me for my permissions here for the Excel and the Office 365 connector. I'll simply go with continue and click in run flow. And that's it, the flow ran. Let's open to see if it worked. And yes, you can see that all of the actions ran successfully. It took only 3 seconds to send all of these 4 emails. And now if you go to the Invoice Outlook mailbox, you can see that we have the 4 emails, one for each of the records from the Excel file. If you open these emails, you can see that we have the order number here in the subject line, the same order number into the email body. We also have these field labels. They are bolded, just like we set into Power Automate, and the data corresponds to each of the records from the Excel file. Let's take this one, for example, this 3350. This one's from Vancouver and 5580. If you come here, you can see we have Vancouver 5580 and it is the 3350. And the same is valid for all of the other 4 records. As you can see, it took only a few seconds to send all of these 4 emails. And you can use the same process if you have much more records than 4. So you could be using this process for sending hundreds of emails, even thousands if you need. You just have to be careful with the request limits for some connectors. For example, for Outlook, eventually, if you need to send a few thousands of emails, you won't be able to send that at once, at the same hour, for example, because Power Automate has some limits for that. But of course, you'll be able to perform this task much faster and much more accurately if you compare to a manual process. So I hope you enjoyed this video. If you have any topics, you can let that into the comment section. Don't forget also to subscribe to the channel and to give a like to this video, and I hope to see you in the next one.